Albedo, the beautiful, jealous, and clingy NPC from Overlord. This succubus has had her fair share of unhinged moments, but that's why we love her. So buckle up as we recap the times that Albedo took the express train to Crazy Town. In Season 1, Episode 1, we see Momonga, or Ainz, sitting on the throne while he messes with Albedo's settings. The game was scheduled to shut down at midnight, so he decides to have some fun with it for the last time, as he sets Albedo to be madly in love with him instead of her usual promiscuous settings. Shortly after, Momonga wakes up in the game, unable to access his console, and is attempting to piece together what's happening. He asks Albedo to come a bit closer, and she goes right up to his face to the point he needs to pull back. He can smell her, which isn't supposed to be a feature of the game. When he touches her wrist to feel her pulse, this girl is so extra she gasps. He also asks to touch her boob, for data of course. And Albedo continues to gasp, make all kinds of ridiculous noises while Momonga attempts to make sense of everything. He realizes he's been touching her boob this whole time and apologizes. But Albedo doesn't mind one bit. She thinks this is all part of the plan for him to take her now. She even asks if she should remove her clothes or if he wants to. In Season 1, Episode 2, the Floor Guardians have all gathered to pledge their loyalty to Momonga and swear to uphold their duties to the best of their abilities. Afterwards, the twins are talking about how scary it was, but how kind Momonga was to them before. With each compliment the twins list, we see Albedo in the background getting more and more worked up. She finally bursts and begins gushing about what an amazing ruler Momonga is. She tells Succubus to tell Momonga that she will do whatever she can to serve him, no matter the sacrifice. But if he wants to invite her back to his bedchamber, she'll need time to bathe. As she continues, Succubus interrupts and is essentially like, alright, we get it, and excuses himself, which I understand. Once he leaves, the rest of the group notices Shaltir crumpled on the ground and asks if she's okay. Shaltir must have a death wish because she responds that Momonga's presence was so amazing it caused her to have a bit of a crisis in her underwear. And my god, Albedo loses her ever-living mind. "You bitch!" she screams, and the two go absolutely ballistic on each other. In Season 3, Episode 1, Ainz expresses how grateful he is for his floor guardians. He holds Mare and says they're all his treasures and that he wouldn't even give them up to, oh Jesus Christ, Buku Chagama herself. And that he wouldn't even give them up to Buku Chagama herself. This makes Albedo super horny. You hear her panting and wonder how much longer she'll be able to keep a lid on things. And the answer is, not any longer. Ainz looks up just in time to see Albedo flying through the air as she literally jumps his bones. She knocks him over and tells him she can't control herself any longer, and it's his fault. He tells her to get off me, leave my clothes alone, and stop gyrating like that. She says that she'll be finished with him long before his assassins can get there and pry her off, which they attempt to do. All poor Mare can do is stand and watch in horror. In Season 4, Episode 1, Ainz is at his desk having self-doubts about his ability to run an entire kingdom, but knowing that he can't tell his subjects that, he pretends to read one of the books. Albedo is standing next to him and asks if something caught his attention. He says no, he's just deep in thought. They then discuss whether Albedo has created a code of law. When he confides in her that he knows absolutely nothing about social law, she says it doesn't matter because he's a supreme being who is above the laws. Ainz is struck by Albedo's beautiful smile and compliments her on how cute she is. That was his first mistake. Of course, this makes Albedo absolutely ecstatic. It looks like she's about to blow a gasket as Ainz's Spidey assassins brace for impact. Not this again. Thankfully, she manages to keep it somewhat under control as she covers her face and says how embarrassed she is. So Ainz quickly changes the subject and escapes unscathed. For now. Later in the same episode, the elf twins Aura and Mare enter into the throne room to see Ainz, and Albedo gets angry because they didn't make an appointment first. But all hell breaks loose when they climb into Ainz's lap. Albedo gets insanely jealous of the kids and asks if there's room for her. Ainz thinks she's being ridiculous and says, "You're an adult, Albedo." Ainz ignores her and gives his full attention to the kids. So Albedo asks if it would help if she was a baby and starts making baby noises and crying. Her behavior freaks out Mare, so he kindly offers up his spot. Well, you don't need to tell Albedo twice. She absolutely throws herself at Ainz. Once she's on his lap and leans in, he notices she smells nice and tells her, like an idiot. In case you haven't picked up on it by now, if you give Albedo an inch, she'll take a mile, and she eagerly, creepily, invites him to sniff her for an hour, or all day. In Season 4, Episode 2, Philip, a young noble, escorts Albedo into the ballroom at Hilma's estate. As they're walking down the hallway towards the ballroom, Philip is charmed by Albedo's beauty. He asks if she's married, and she says, unfortunately, she's still single. So he gets the brilliant idea to make a move on her, and puts his hand on her shoulder. Well, she did not like that one bit. Later, as Hilma's walking her to the sitting room, Albedo wipes off her shoulder with disgust and says, "How disgusting," and that there's only one person in this world that is allowed to lustfully touch her body. She even bares her teeth in anger as she says, "That inferior piece of shit." Remind me never to get on Albedo's bad side. Eesh, scary stuff.